tool, and also help them with their business, because a lot of businesses are struggling, myself included, was with the marketing end of it. A lot of times practitioners are really good at what they're trained to do, but they're not always with the others. So to get that workplace going is who I really want to focus on, that they're living a passion, and things are going effectively, that they can really flourish and not always worry about where the next dollar's coming from.
That's great, John. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for that and grateful for your contribution. And we'll just pause. And if Maria, you'd like to introduce yourself, you're more than welcome. We won't put you on the spot. We'll just give you a moment for that. And if not, then, oh, hey, Maria, nice to see you. Welcome.
Hello, nice to meet you all. Thank you for the invite. I'm Maria Giralta. I'm based in Lisbon, Portugal, so across the ocean. And I work for Nokia in the real estate organization. I've been in multiple roles. One of the last was to create the guidelines, the workplace design guidelines that are directly impacting the topics that I think that are today's meeting. So how workplace can contribute to regenerate and to not be energy suckers, and instead of that, be spaces that are fit for purpose and enable people to do their best.
Thank you so much. We're grateful for that and grateful for your share. Welcome.
Yep.
And so it's really my pleasure also to introduce my co-host here today, and that is Dr. Wanda Walker. And let me just tell you a little bit about her. Dr. Wanda is a speaker, but she's also a workplace coach, a certified flourishing workplace culture coach. She's also a relationship coach and a leadership coach. And even these three designations give us a lot of insight into who Dr. Wanda is as a person. She believes in healthy workplace culture. She believes in the power of healthy relationships, and certainly how leaders contribute to all of the above. She actually has over 35 years as a senior executive in the federal government, and she's led thousands and has really drawn over the years on her experience, and not just in the workplace, but also from an academic perspective. And so Dr. Wanda has a Master of Divinity, and truly she is divine. There's no doubt about it. But it's also a Master of Divinity with a focus on counseling and a doctorate in strategic leadership. And so wonderful to have you here today, Dr. Wanda, as a co-host and a major contributor to everything that's happening in Flourishing Workplaces USA.
Thank you so much, Abe, and good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to give a descriptive of Abe. Abe Brown is our fearless leader. He is an entrepreneur. He's a coach's coach. I can honestly say that. He's a professional speaker. He's an author. He is the founder and the writer of a substantial portion of the Flourishing coaching curriculum and program. Like I said, he's a coach's coach. That's first and foremost. He's passionate, truly, about supporting the needs of people, relationships, entrepreneurs. He wants to see everyone win. Businesses, he's been in a multitude of nonprofit organizations. He is really passionate about what we're going to actually discuss here as far as the workplace and the workplace mental health, and really believes in changing the world. If we just change the workplace, is not just a mantra for him. It actually is one he can live, and the one I've seen him live in the last 6 months. So I'm going to kick it back over to you, Abe.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate your kind words. And so we are here today. We're not going to be long, but we are here today to talk about healthy workplace culture. And I think especially right now, where stress in the workplace is extremely high and there's a lot of uncertainty out there, this is probably a message for this moment. And just to our other panelists here today, what are your thoughts about that when you hear this idea of, hey, let's create healthy workplace culture, and yet today it's January 23rd, 2025. We all know that there's a lot of stress in the workplace, and just love to hear if any of you would love to comment on any of that.
If I could, I actually witnessed this today, that the transition that's happening in the federal government in the U.S., anytime another administration comes on board, change occurs. It's an expectation that change will occur. But in the 4 days that we've had of the new administration, so many changes have been proposed, put into place. The employees, the federal workers, and I have spoken to two today, are feeling that they are actually anxious. So their emotional state is being hampered. And needless to say, in the instance where someone's emotional state is being hampered, they're not being productive. They're wondering, what is happening, what is about to happen, and to what degree. So
It's great. I mean, it's not great, but it's a reflection of the reality of this moment, right? And how the impact that stress would have, the impact that uncertainty would have, the impact that change has on individuals who have to come to work every day and show up. And of course, everyone is expecting them to do their best and to work hard and to be efficient and productive. And yet, what are we doing to create an environment that can support that? It's great comment. Anyone else like to kind of talk about that and healthy workplaces and kind of toxic workplaces too, because it's all a part of the package today, it seems.
I think toxic workplaces really is driven by a lot of what's going on with their mental health lately. Mental Health of America reports that the workplace stress costs the U.S. economy $300 billion annually. And that costs the companies by 2030, it's supposed to reach $16 trillion globally. I think it's like the new kid on the block is the mindset. The mindset is going to drive everything. It's going to drive the anxiety, how to handle it, depression, you name it. We have to start with the mindset and bring that into the workplace, because if we're going to fix anything, we need to start fixing it with the leaders, because with the leaders, that's what it's going to come down. It's going to trickle down.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I just want to share a couple of thoughts on healthy workplace culture, and then I would love to kind of get any feedback that you might have. I mean, when you think about healthy workplace culture, you can't really talk about that, I don't think, without identifying the fact that there's also a toxic workplace culture. And, that toxic workplace culture means that no matter how well intentioned we might be to say, well, let's create a healthy workplace culture, it does mean at a fundamental level that people are struggling to find a pathway to go from a toxic workplace culture to a healthy one. And, what I would like to say about that is it really matters. Just a few months ago, I had a conversation with, I'll just call her Julie. Of course, I don't want to give her actual identity, but she's an HR professional. She's been in the field of human resources for decades. And she literally said to me, Abe, I'm 100% sure that I can't keep going like this. And even if I could, I don't even know if I'd want to. And that was a really tragic thing because, back in the day, I mean, it even happens today, but, 100 years ago, let's say people would go to work, let's say in a mine, very unsafe conditions. I mean, obviously it still happens now, but much less prevalent. And so for them, going to work was putting their physical health on the line. And, through regulation and through good management, we have mitigated, though not eliminated that. But now what's happening is people are coming into a workplace and they're finding that they're putting their mental health on the line. And you might say, well, who cares? Well, of course we need to care. There's a really strong business case for this. I mean, companies, this is according to the research, with a strong corporate culture see a 4 times increase in revenue growth compared to companies with a weak culture. And so if you'd like to maybe tap into 4 times revenue growth, then we have to think about how do we create that healthy workplace culture. And if you're in government or in the nonprofit sector, you have different metrics. So it might not so much be revenue growth, but it could be how are we, minimizing sick time? How are we maximizing engagement? How are we improving retention of the very best people? And, you can't really say all of that without identifying that so much of this in the workplace has to do with what we would call emotional and social intelligence. Without a doubt, emotionally and socially intelligent leaders then have the capacity to create a healthy workplace culture. When you lack emotional and social intelligence, what ends up going on is you inherently create an environment that's not psychologically safe. And you might say, well, psychological safety, does that really matter? Interestingly, way back in 2017, Google took a look at all of their teams literally throughout the world. At that time, over 50,000 employees in over 70 different countries. And they identified their highest performing teams. And then they wanted to try to understand and extrapolate from their highest performing teams, which teams, what were the traits or the characteristics of those high performing teams. And they identified 5 characteristics, but they said number one, and by far the most important, was this idea of psychological safety. In other words, when people felt psychologically safe, obviously they're able to perform at their best. And you think about that, I mean, even in your marriage, right? Or your friendships. I mean, if you have a friend, or a married partner or somebody that you're really in close relationship with, if they don't feel psychologically safe around you, if they're always, kind of having to watch their back and watch what they say, and they're walking around on eggshells, well, obviously you're not going to get the best of them. And it's irrational to expect that that same concept would not continue in the workplace. And so we hear this concept a lot about emotional intelligence. And, like you identified, Dr. Wanda, there's been a new government in the United States, as we know. There is a lot of change. Some people are excited about that change, and other people are unhappy with that change. But there's no doubt, no matter where you are on that spectrum, change creates stress, right? That's the universal. We know that from all of the research into stress. And one of the things about change is that every time there's a change, there's a series of controllables, and those controllables would be the things that you can influence or choose in that change. And then there's a series of non-controllables, right? There's a bunch of things you can't control, things that you can't really influence even. And I think that so much of emotional intelligence is you and I identifying the controllables from the non-controllables, and then allowing ourselves to emotionally regulate in that process so that we don't get caught up in the stress and we don't get caught up in the negative energy that everyone else might be flowing into, but that we have that emotional intelligence that allows us to walk into a room and we're emotionally intelligent. And as leaders, I think this is critical. Now, there's 4 elements or areas of emotional intelligence that we can drill into, and we're not going to take a lot of time with that. But number 1 is just self-awareness. Have I taken the time? And this is really important as a leader. I found over decades of leadership that if I'm not aware of my own emotional state, I'm going to unintentionally hurt somebody. It's not that I wake up and say, who can I hurt today? But if I'm not aware of what's going on within me, maybe my own frustrations, my own fears, my own misgivings, my own resentments, my own hurts, it's going to kind of just leak out. And so I think it starts with self-awareness. I need to know me. And this is good leadership. But then when I know me and I'm aware of what's going on with me, then it's so important that I have that idea of self-management. So how do I begin to manage myself and operate in a way that projects into the team environment the right kind of energy? But I also have to marry that to social awareness. And so self-awareness is great. So I got to understand myself, but then I also have to read the room. How's my team doing? What's going on with my team? Have I listened enough? Have I connected enough? Have I been a safe place for my team to come and vent to me So they don't necessarily have to find other channels where the venting may not be as productive and as effective. And such a critical part of emotional intelligence is also managing those relationships. It's not as if we can manage the people in the relationships so much, but we need to manage those relationships really, really well. And I think when we head into sort of this next year, I mean, hey, it's January, it's 2025, brand new year. So many things that we don't really know what's going to happen this year, where we're going to end up. You know, we know what today holds, but even that, we don't know exactly what today holds. And so how do I make sure as a leader that I'm emotionally intelligent, number one, for me, for my own mental health, my own physical health, but then as a leader, I step into something that allows my people to feel that same level of support. And I just want to share just a quote that has absolutely changed my life as a leader. It has just been so powerful to me. It was a quote that was shared by an individual over 100 years ago. It's so funny how maybe we don't so much need a new thing in 2025, but sometimes just a reminder of the old. And just check this quote out. And I'd love for you, Dr. Wanda, if you could kindly read this to us. It would be so nice to have you read this and just sort of express this. And then maybe we could just have a couple of moments as a group of discussion around this, because I think this really does tie into emotional intelligence. And so please go ahead, Dr. Wanda.
And I know you don't know this, but this is like one of my favorite quotes. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I
wow.
have
We're in
come to the
sync.
yeah, this is just in sync totally. I have
Yeah.
come to the frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element. It is my personal approach that creates the climate. It is my daily mood that makes the weather. I possess tremendous power to make life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor, hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis is escalated or de escalated, and a person is humanized or dehumanized. I love it.
Me too. It's a profound thing because, you know, what really speaks to my heart, and I would say, you know, so much in that speaks to emotional intelligence, but it's this idea, I am the decisive element. In other words, again, in any environment, there's so many things I can't control, so many things I can't manage, but at least what I can do is manage my response, and my team around me then will feed off of that. I love how this quote says, it's my daily mood that makes the weather. And so I'd love to hear from anyone here, just as we you know, hear this quote and talk about it. It'd be so nice to hear from a couple of you, just your perspectives on this and what's really resonated for you in that, Dr. Wanda, over the years.
Well, I think that with being a leader in any environment, to make sure that you're in a healthy place before the transitions, before the change. It's hard to get that, awareness, during that process. If you're late, that's okay. At least start at that place. But it's good to be in that place before it starts. So having a workplace that actually, values the time to give you self-awareness, values the time in which you are in a place where they've allowed you to know that the management of whatever emotions that you may have, is important. I think you actually become almost like an umbrella with your staff, maybe giving them additional time that they need to then be able to ebb and flow with the transitions and the change. So that's the importance in leadership to me.
I love that. And I love what you said. You become an umbrella, right? And you have to have that emotional intelligence in order to do that. Anyone else like to kind of comment on this?
I love this, Abe and Dr. Wanda. I mean, I think a lot of folks, when we hear the word, leader, when we're leading, people think that, oh, it's only a specific executive title. Yet in the workplace, even personal life, we're all leaders. We're all leading someone somewhere. So I could be a coworker who's not on a leadership team and come into work, and I can be that umbrella for others as well, right? I am the thermostat. I don't have to be the thermometer, right, in the situation. And so it's so important, even for myself, when I walk into work, like I wave, I wave at each team member or say hi, not to interrupt them what they're doing if they're in a meeting. Yeah, just to acknowledge that I see them. And I think that's a part of that choice that we can make every day.
So good. Absolutely. Anyone else love to share on that?
Just a thought that I have. Thank you, Abe and Dr. Wanda, for everything that has been said. And as Dr. Wanda was reading the quote, what immediately popped in my mind was a quote that I just kind of attach onto that by Eleanor Roosevelt, that no one has the power to make you feel inferior unless you give them permission to. That is very powerful for me, and I keep it with me because it grounds me, and it also helped me to be supportive of my people that I supervise and those that supervise me, so that I can just really clearly see if someone is being victimized by someone in the workplace. I definitely have to step in and advocate for them and let them know that they have someone to talk to and to support them so that they will not feel that stress. Because again, as we spoke about earlier, being stressed in the workplace is not healthy. It's a physical sickness that can come from stress in the workplace. And so I really agree with everything that's been said.
Yeah. Yeah, and stress is really interesting, right? Because it really attacks your immune system. And when your immune system is compromised, of course you're vulnerable, aren't you, to so many other viruses or, bacteria, well, like whatever, right? And so managing that stress level and really recognizing as a leader, my job is to support my team. And I think that a lot of HR people and leaders got into this habit in COVID, right? Especially at the start, where it was like, hey, they were really told, check in with your team and make sure that everybody's doing okay. And then that kind of wore off, right? And now we're just back to old times. And right now is a tough environment for people. I mean, cost of living and inflation and all of the things that are happening globally. And I mean, where would you like to start? Just the sheer amount of uncertainty out there is weighing on people, and it's eating away. And so, what I do want to say is just, here we are an organization, just so you know, if you don't know who we are, we're called Flourishing Workplace. And we are an evidence-based team that is focused on helping leaders and team members to create a flourishing workplace. And so there's a whole science and psychology around flourishing. It's a strength-based approach. It's not about what's wrong, it's about what's right. It's not about, making people feel judged. It's about supporting. It's about believing in a workplace where everyone thrives, where everyone belongs, and where everyone has the opportunity to contribute. And our kind of little motto, our mission, if you like, is changing the world by changing the workplace. And so we come into organizations, we've worked with government, we've worked with nonprofits, we've worked with for-profits, we've worked with Fortune 500 companies, all the way down to small mom and pop operations. We've worked in construction, we've worked in retail, we've worked in banking, we've worked with restaurants, you name it. We've worked there. And the whole idea is giving teammates an evidence-based framework. We start with measurement and assessment using a psychometric profile developed by one of our business partners who's a psychologist, PhD. And this profile has been really, really tested and proven with well over 500,000 people in over 20 countries around the world. And now that we have measurement, a baseline, we can begin to understand where are we flourishing as a team, but what are some of those gaps? And then utilizing that evidence-based approach, we can support the team to create a workplace that thrives. And what does this look like in practice? Well, of course, it looks like some one-on-one coaching. It looks like group coaching. It looks like some training and facilitation and support in the background. You know what? Leaders don't have a toolkit. You know, it's interesting. I mean, I did an MBA at one of the top business schools in the country, and the actual courses on leadership were almost zero. And when you think about the number of people who have an MBA and they're running a team or they're running an organization, they're running a group, they don't really often have the toolkit that they need. And so we have a lot of empathy for these folks so that they can get what they need. And so maybe you're watching this right now, or maybe you're going to tune in later. This isn't any kind of hard sales pitch by any means, but we would love for you to hop on a call, you know, book a discovery session with us, you know, and after that discovery session, we would actually provide you with a detailed roadmap. So you would know A to B to C, here's what it would look like. And if you're interested, we would love to walk with you to implement that. And you can check us out if you'd like on flourishingworkplace.com. But, you know, if you want to have a direct line to connect with one of us, Dr. Wanda is throwing a link to hop on a call with her directly in the chat window. And Dr. Wanda, I would love to hear you just kind of share your heart in this, and then we can bring our session here together to a close. And so please go ahead and share your heart. And I know your discovery call link is in the chat window, so people feel free to copy and paste that. You can take it for yourself, and we'll send that out by email as well with the recording. But what's your heart in all this, Dr. Wanda, and why would it make sense for somebody to touch base with you?
With the workplace culture, we're looking as to edify and encourage all of employees to maximize, make sure the right person's in the right place, doing the right thing. But the best way to do that is to get an assessment. Have someone actually take a look at your organization to see exactly what was that be. Not to find out what is wrong, as Abe was saying, but to find out what is right and to actually help you maximize even to the more so. So we'd love to be able to have a conversation with you to do exactly that.
Love that. And, you know, I see in the chat window such great feedback from Maria. Thank you for that. And you're 100% correct. You know, I really do believe in the power of tapping into the diversity of individuals. And like you said, everyone does have a different lens and has different wants and desires. And it kind of speaks to me to why that discovery call is so important, because we have worked with so many different organizations. It really gives us, I think, an almost unmatched capacity to customize. We don't go into an organization and say, here's our cookie cutter mold, you need to fit us. We're very happy to fit with the organization. And you know, that always starts with, hey, what's going on for you guys? Where are you at right now? And how can we help? And so that's such great feedback. Thank you, Maria, much appreciated. And so on that note, everybody, I think we're ready to conclude. We want to respect everybody's time. We know it's a Thursday. Everybody's pushing hard for the weekend because the weekend is coming. And we're so grateful that you've joined with us here today. And we're going to be doing this again, actually today, an evening session as well. And that will be 7 p.m. Eastern time. And so if you're interested in rejoining, please do. Or if you'd like to invite somebody and send them the link to join us, that would be great as well. So have a great day, everybody. And again, if you can, please connect with Dr. Wanda, and we'll conclude as of right here, and we'll see you next month. Take care.
Thank you.